Hello everyone, back tuning into the 5th Winter 2020-21 update part 1 from GavsWeatherVids.com. So what an update we've got for you here. Another winter update, and yes, we're going to be looking at things like sea surface temperature, anomalies, solar activity, what's happening with Eurasian snow cover, what's going on with ENSO. We're going to bring you update with all of the developments over the past week, since with last week's 4th update. Part 2, which will be released tomorrow, will be the analog side of the winter update, and that one is going to be focusing on September data. And I shall get on with the 5th Winter 2020-21 update part 1 for you very shortly. Just say that coming up later on today at GavsWeatherVids.com, we're going to have a Christmas update written. So we're beginning the countdown to Christmas in terms of the written updates. Not yet the video countdown. That's not starting until the 1st of November. But before that, we always like to do a couple of written updates to Christmas at the website at GavsWeatherVids.com, and we'll be doing that for you this afternoon, probably around 2ish, I would have thought, probably around 2 o'clock this afternoon. I'll get that up for you. And then, of course, at 6 o'clock will be live stream, so have our Sunday evening live stream. We'll check in, we'll see how we're all doing, and going to again be very much focused on the long range. That was going to have a look at CANSIPS and CFS V2 data for winter 2020-21. So it's going to be very, very interesting live stream coming up from 6 o'clock this evening. Very much today focusing on the long range, you know, on the coming winter. So if winter stuff is your thing, then everything at GavsWeatherVids today is really focusing on winter and on the longer range, what with the 5th Christmas update, the 5th winter update, and the first written Christmas update. Right, so much going on, so I better get on with this for you very shortly. Just to say, it's going to be quite a long video, so as always, if you can't watch it all, we place on the winter updates page at GavsWeatherVids, and there'll be a written summary that goes with that. And I'll try and get one up for you, like, tonight. If I can't get it tonight, then it will be first thing tomorrow morning. You'll be able to have a read of written summary and watch the video on demand at GavsWeatherVids.com, and also on the YouTube channel whenever you would like to do that. If you're enjoying winter updates this season, then please can you give us a like on the videos. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let us know in the comments what you think. Don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids, and get them to subscribe as well, and that'll be absolutely fantastic if you can do that. Big thank you to Richard for the winter updates GIF. So thank you so much, Richard. I know all of you are loving the GIF this year, particularly this cute little snowman here down in the bottom right hand corner of the picture. So thank you so much to Richard for that. I think that's pretty much everything I've got to tell you. Shrine has helped with this update as well. I'll talk you through what Shrine has done for us when we get to it. So without further ado, I think we will crack on with the 5th Winter 2020 update part 1. Let's do it, shall we? Right, so the first thing we're going to do is have a look at the swingometer. So this is my Peter Snow impersonation. It's just a little bit of fun. Right, okay. So, yes, you'll remember at the beginning, they've been sent through by Richard, of course, our king of swing. Richard Traut has sent this through to me. So you'll remember that at the beginning of last week's 4th winter update part 1, we had seen a swing from mild to cold, and the swingometer was actually favouring very weakly, but was favouring a cold winter. Well, after that 4th update was released, parts 1 and 2, we're seeing quite a big swing on the swingometer. So the swingometer now has swung from cold to mild, and so here we go. You can see that the swingometer is now showing that we are favouring a mild winter. Quite a big swing this from last week to this week. So this is after the 4th update, remember. So we won't know how this 5th update affects things until the beginning of next week's 6th update, if you see what I mean. But after the 4th update, quite a big swing from cold to mild, and so we are favouring by 50% to 41% a milder than average winter after 4 winter 2020-21 update. Yeah, quite a big swing there. From cold to mild, and as I say, we will see next week at the beginning of the 6th winter update exactly how this 5th update has affected things, but after 4 updates favouring a milder than average winter. Thank you so much to King of Swing, Richard Traut, for sending that through to us. Right, so we're going to start off with QBO. Excuse me. So the QBO, of course, is quasi-biennial oscillation. It's just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric status, with so many of these indexes that we look at within the weather and within the longer range. Just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state, telling us what the atmosphere is doing. And effectively, the QBO is a way of telling us how strong the zonal westerlies are. So when you are in a westerly QBO, for example, as we are here in 1967, we have a westerly QBO, particularly for the first half of the year anyway, of 1967. That tells us that the zonal westerlies are kind of in a strengthened state. When you have an easterly QBO, like a reversal of the zonal winds, then you weaken the westerlies, essentially. We have that in 1963. The daddy of cold winters was a strong easterly QBO. We see those negative numbers there through the first half of 1963 until it reverses. Second half of the year, it goes back into westerly QBO. So westerlies, in terms of the QBO, essentially favouring a strengthening of the zonal westerly flow, easterlies favouring a weakening of the zonal westerly flow. So, easterly QBOs tend to increase the chance of a colder winter. Westerly QBOs tend to increase the chance of a milder winter. However, it's nowhere near that straightforward, because there are many easterly QBO winters that are mild, and there's a few westerly QBO winters that are cold. So let's move down, and we come down to 2020. So we know what's happened this year. We have had a failure of the easterly QBO so far this year. So here we are, beginning of 2020, January, with minus 2.51. It looks like we're at the start of an easterly QBO. That strengthens a little bit into February, so yes, that's all straightforward. Strengthens a little bit more into March and a little bit more into April as well. Quite a slow strengthening, but you see from January to February to March to April, the easterly QBO is strengthening. What happens in May is that we stop that strengthening of the easterly QBO. Actually have a little bit of a weakening of the easterly QBO in May, going from minus 5.03 in April to minus 4.86 in May. Probably not too much to worry about. The start of the QBO and QBO cycles, you know, can wax and wane a little bit. But look what happens as we get through to June. The easterly QBO weakens further, goes from minus 4.86 to minus 2.78. And then in July, we actually go into a very slight westerly QBO at 0.34. August sees the westerly QBO strengthening up to plus 4.78, and look at this, September has seen a further strengthening of the westerly QBO to plus 7.95. In terms of the troposphere, we now appear to be properly in a westerly QBO. So I think we can say that the easterly QBO has failed here. I think we have seen a failure of the easterly QBO. If it comes back, and it may do, we may see like the westerly QBO also failing and the easterly QBO coming back either later this year or probably now more likely next year. Then that will be a new easterly QBO though, I think. So the easterly QBO that sort of began at the beginning of 2020, I think we can pretty much say that that has been a failure. That has failed. That easterly QBO has failed, I think, because we are now in a proper sort of westerly QBO there with plus 7.95. I mean, it's the strongest westerly QBO has been since here, plus 8.25, and that is in, that's December, that's November, so that's September. That's September. So the westerly QBO is the strongest it's been since September 2019, a year ago. So I think I'm very, very close now. I don't know if anybody official has said this, but for me, I am very, very close now to saying that the easterly QBO for 2020 has failed. That's not to say that the easterly QBO won't come back, that, but we might see the westerly QBO weakening and failing as we go through the final 3 months of the year or into the first months of next year. But if the easterly QBO comes back, that will be a new easterly QBO phase, I think. So the easterly QBO of 2020, I think we can say that has failed now, really, with this westerly QBO number at plus 7.95. That is the second failure of the easterly QBO. We had one before in 2016 up here. That easterly QBO never really got going though, unlike this one, which did get going. But that one never really got going in 2016. But that was another failure of the easterly QBO. Now, the QBO is normally quite pulse-like. It should oscillate, you know, like a heartbeat, just constantly oscillating between westerly and easterly, and westerly and easterly, and westerly and easterly, and so on. So to get two failures of the easterly QBO, almost like two heart attacks, I suppose, within the atmosphere, to get two of those, like, within 5 years is very, very concerning, I think. I'm really quite worried about what's going on with the easterly QBO. Is the atmosphere beginning to lose its heartbeat? Is it beginning to lose its pulse? Really, that's the question, I suppose. Not really relevant to this winter update, but more widely and more broadly, it is quite concerning what we see there with the quasi-biennial oscillation and what's going on right now. This is from NASA. Again, this is depicting easterly and westerly QBO phases. So you see the last easterly QBO phase is just here. This is the last time I had an easterly QBO just there. This is our last proper westerly QBO phase. So this is 2017, 2018. This is 2018 to 2019. So again, you can see the way these events descend down. This is like the top of the atmosphere in the stratosphere, and this is down on the floor where we are. So you can see how these easterly and westerly QBO phases are descending through the atmosphere, how they descend through the atmosphere, easterly there, westerly there, and should be very pulse-like, should be very continuous. But what we see with this easterly QBO phase, so coming back to the point, which is 2019, 2020, we see up here we've got the easterly QBO beginning in the stratosphere, and that should have done something like this. It should have moved down from the stratosphere into the troposphere. Troposphere, by the way, is in the boundary layer of 30 to 50 HPA, but it didn't. It never moved down properly. We never truly got rid of the westerly QBO. Just so you see these raggedy, sandy coloured lines continuing, never truly got rid of westerly QBO. And of course, through the summer and now into the autumn, we have seen this westerly QBO powering up, albeit we still have the easterly QBO at the top of the atmosphere. We do still have, so let's try and get rid of that. We do still have the easterly QBO up here at the top of the stratosphere. That is the easterly QBO still there. And at some point, that is probably going to start to descend down again. Let's zoom in. At some point, the easterly QBO will probably descend down. It is there at the very top of the stratosphere. So at some point, I just imagine we'll see the easterly QBO beginning to move downwards and doing something like that. So next year, or like the end of this year, but probably more likely into next year now, we may go into the easterly QBO. But if we do, that will be a separate phase, I think. That'll be separate to like the 2020 ECQBO. That will be another ECQBO entirely. Although the time being, the westerly QBO does continue here in the troposphere. This level of the atmosphere is where the troposphere is. And as we see, westerly QBO goes on for the time being. Well, we keep you updated about the QBO right the way through these winter updates, but whether we can draw any conclusions for the winter with the QBO remains to be seen, because what's going on with the QBO is very, very unusual, and there's not going to be many years, you know, that have done what we're doing this year with the QBO. So whether we'll be able to draw anything useful from the QBO in our winter updates remains to be seen. We will, of course, be keeping you up to date every week throughout these winter updates about what the QBO is doing. Arctic oscillation observed and forecast is looking like this. So as with QBO, the AO, again, it's just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state. When the Arctic oscillation is in its positive phase, we've got low pressure over the Arctic. And when the Arctic oscillation is in its negative phase, we've got high pressure, got blocking over the Arctic. You can see that back through into August and September, the AO was in its positive phase. Right now, into early October, the Arctic oscillation is actually negative. So you've got blocking at the moment in the Arctic and within the northern latitudes. Looks as though as we go further on through the first week of October, the AO will begin to lift back up to a slightly more positive phase, but overall it's just sticking very close to neutral, really, right way through to the middle of October. So neither particularly positive, but not exceptionally negative either, with the Arctic oscillation just very, very close to neutral, but possibly on the slightly more negative side of neutral. So probably some blocking continues, but not to the levels that we've got right now within the Arctic. The NAO is the same idea. Again, this is just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state, this time looking at the North Atlantic, measuring air pressures between Iceland and the Azores. So when the NAO is positive, then we're going to have low pressure around Iceland and high pressure through the Azores. We will strengthen westerly we will strengthen the westerlies across the, and it's a QBO there, we will strengthen the westerlies across the North Atlantic. Conversely though, when the NAO is in its negative phase, then we get higher pressure appearing around Iceland and lower pressure around the Azores. Where we are right now is also negative with the NAO. So we've got both indexes negative right now. The AO and the NAO are negative at the moment. GFS ensembles are forecasting the NAO to stay neutral to negative through to the middle of October. So quite interesting what's going on with both these indexes. They are in negative territory, and this is the reason that we are having a very cold and wet start to October. The AO possibly lifting more towards neutral, the NAO though possibly staying on the negative side through to the middle of October. We shall see how that works out. This is showing us what's going on with zonal winds. This is from weatheriscool.com. So many coloured lines here, making it very, very complicated to tell you essentially what we are looking at. What you need to know, you've got the dates on the bottom of the chart. So that's October just there. That is December. That's January. Just there, and this will be February, and this will be March, of course. Right, so the black line is like the trend line. So zonal winds, which is kind of like zonal winds, is kind of like the in the stratosphere, 10 HPA. Over the Arctic and over the North Pole. Zonal winds are kind of like powering the polar vortex, if you like, and the polar vortex is like the engine that drives the westerlies. So think of the zonal winds as kind of like fuel, really, kind of like petrol, I suppose, in the engine, powering the engine. The engine itself is the polar vortex, and the polar vortex then powers the westerlies. So you see what I mean with that. So the black line shows that at this time of the year we should be powering up the zonal winds. The zonal winds should be getting stronger through the rest of this year and peaking sometime around Christmas to early January. So we can see from where we are right now, just here, so actually zonal winds are slightly weaker than average, not dramatically so, but they are slightly weaker than average at the moment. GFS ensembles, which are these green lines just here, are showing that zonal winds are forecast to stay around or slightly weaker than average as we go through the first half of October. That would tie in with the Arctic oscillation, you know, being slightly negative, and the NAO also being negative, and so a blocking signal. So having weaker zonal winds is not a surprise at the moment, given that we have got sort of blocking within the Arctic. Now, beyond that, it starts getting very, very complicated. The blue lines are from the CFS-V2. There's 4 of those. The pink lines are a correction to the CFS-V2. Weatheriscool.com is saying that the CFS-V2 has got a flaw that shows zonal winds to be weaker than they will actually be. So sort of a bias towards weakened zonal winds, if you like. And so the pink lines are sort of taking that bias and correcting it in a way. So you can see that with the zonal winds from the CFS-V2 zonal wind forecast, most of these blue lines are down here, showing relatively weak zonal winds, whereas the pink lines, which is the CFS corrected, are sort of up here close to average as we're going into the winter, or even with this one at a record-breakingly strong level. Now, the only thing I'll say about this is that if weatheriscool.com is saying that the CFS V2 is unreliable, it's biased towards weaker zone winds, then why not just take that away and only show like the bias corrected? Really. So I don't really understand, I still don't really understand what weatheriscool.com are doing with this. If they're telling us that the CFS is unreliable, they don't show the CFS. That would be what I would say about that. And to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm going to carry on showing this much longer. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you want me to carry on showing this, or at this point, should we start leaving it off? I mean, it's possibly time to leave this off, because I'm not sure we're gaining, you know, any particularly useful information from this, other than, I suppose, showing where we are right now with zone winds. So I suppose this part is useful, which is showing where we currently are with the zonal winds, and like the GFS forecast, perhaps for the next couple of weeks. But beyond that, I'm not sure we're really gleaning any useful information from this, to be honest. So it may be using up quite a lot of time within the winter updates, and we're not getting a great deal of useful information out of it. But if you want to carry on seeing it, then we will do so. But at the moment, I'm sort of thinking it might be time to leave that one out of the winter updates, to be honest. Right, moving on to solar activity. So this is how the solar disk is looking on our side of this day from solarham.net. We've got a spotless solar disk. There are no sunspots whatsoever on the solar disk right now, so therefore solar activity is at very low levels and is expected to remain at very low levels for the next 3 days. This is the GavsWeatherVids Solar Activity Tracker, updated by keeper of the solar tracker, James Ackrill. So the orange line is depicting each individual day's worth of sunspot activity. So we had a very, very long stretch without any sunspots at all, over a month. And then last week, of course, we established that a couple of sunspots had developed. Since then, the orange line is flatlining away on the floor of the chart again. And so solar activity continues to be at a really, really low level at the moment, with, I think we can still say that the number of days without sunspots are outnumbering the number of days with sunspots. It means that our trend lines, which are the thick green and thick red lines, they remain on the floor of the chart. They're not doing anything much at all. And so yes, we are into the first sort of year of solar cycle 25, but solar activity continues to be at a very, very low level. This is sent through by a good friend, Richard Traut. This is showing the current stretch of spotless days and spotless days by year. So for 2020, for this year so far, we have had 100, I think that's 198 days without sunspots. That's 71% of the year so far has not had any sunspots, comparable to last year with 281 days without sunspots. That was 77% of the year of 2019. So that was our solar minimum year, of course, in 2019, and this is the first year solar cycle 25. But solar activity continued to be at a very, very low level. So a very slow start to solar cycle 25, as we had with the start of solar cycle 24 as well. Big thank you to James and to Richard for sending through the data. Right, I'm going to pause the video there. You can often stretch your legs, and when we come back, we're going to have a look at sea surface temperature anomalies, and we'll see what's going on with the hurricane season, and I'll bring you up to date in terms of the Eurasian snow cover, Siberian snow cover. So all of that still to come, but I'm going to pause the video there. You go off and get yourself a little cup of tea and some snacks. I'll just be on water because I'm still on the diet. And we'll meet back in around 2 seconds time. So I'll see you very, very soon. Okay, we're back. And we're ready to resume the 5th Winter 2020 Update Part 1. If you enjoyed this video so far, then please give us a like and let us know in the comments what you think. And make sure you subscribe to GavsWeatherVids YouTube channel. And that's absolutely great, absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Right, we're ready to resume then. So let's do this. So we're going to start off with ocean data now. Sea surface temperature anomalies. So this is how sea surface temperature anomalies were looking across the the oceans when we did last week's fourth winter 2020-21 update. This is from the 24th of September. We've got 4 areas of interest. Remember, we've got the ENSO region in the Equatorial Pacific, just here from Peru to Indonesia. So we've got the ENSO region just there. We've got the Indian Ocean just here. And then we've got the Northern Pacific up there. So that's the Northern Pacific. And then, of course, we've got the Atlantic Ocean over here. So that's how the oceans were looking when we did last week's winter update, the 4th winter 2020-21 update. Clearly, we've got a developing La Nina going on. We've got a negative IOD. We have got Indian Ocean dipole. We've got a very warm Northern Pacific Ocean, and we've got generally quite a warm Atlantic Ocean. We did have a look back through the archives. We established that the Atlantic sea surface temperatures at the end of September, anyway, were close to the years of 2017 in particular. I think most of us agree that 2017 was quite a close match. Maybe 2012 was quite a close-ish sort of match as well to the situation that we had there from last week. Right, so I'm ready now to show you the latest. So again, that's how it looked last week. This is the latest as of the 2nd of October. Let's deal with the ENSO region first of all. So there, we do still have a signature for La Nina. Of course, this is going to be at the very least a weak La Nina winter for 2020-21. We've established that this La Nina is too far gone now to be anything other than a La Nina winter. The only question is how strong will it be. However, I think we haven't seen all that much strengthening over the past week. So let's go back to last week, forwards to this week. That's this week, that's last week, this week, last week, this week. I don't think we've seen all that much strengthening over the past week. So for the past week, I think we've tended to see kind of like a levelling off of the decrease in sea surface temperature anomalies. They've been dropping quite dramatically over the past few weeks, but I think in this last week we have seen that easing off. So La Nina is definitely there across all ENSO regions. We are in a La Nina. We may see this getting stronger when we look at it next week. It could just be a pause that's occurred this week, but I think there has been a pause in the development of La Nina this week. Over in the Indian Ocean, again, that's how the Indian Ocean looked last week. Remember, we're looking at this area just here. This is how the Indian Ocean looks this week. Very little change, really, so it remains warmer through here. It remains cooler just here, but a little bit less so compared to last week. But I think we're still in like a neutral to weakly negative phase of the IOD. And then going northwards into the North-Pacific. Now, this is quite interesting. So focus on this area just here. Let's change the colour. This was last week for this area just here. Have a look at this week. And I think we have seen quite a significant cool down. Actually, quite a significant cool down has occurred over the past week in that northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean. We are looking for that area to go cold. It's tended to be very warm around here over the past few winters. So this area just here tends to be very warm. We're looking to turn this area cooler, and certainly over the past week there has been quite a significant cool down. So if you want a cold winter, I think that's pretty good news, the fact that things are cooling down in the northeastern Pacific Ocean. In the North Atlantic Ocean, again, let's go back to it. That's how the North Atlantic looked last week. Remember, this time we're focusing just here. That's how the North Atlantic looked last week. This is how North Atlantic looks now. Very little change. It remains warm through the tropical Atlantic and into the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico generally, particularly warm just here. Many parts of the North Atlantic are looking pretty warm, as we've established. This is one of the warmest years we established this last week. One of the warmest years for the North Atlantic that we've had for quite some time, on a par with 2017 and possibly on a par with 2012 as well. Now, this is a change over the past week. Again, this is from so this is showing how sea surface temperature anomalies have changed in the past 7 days. I think this does tell us that in the ENSO region we have had a little bit of a stall in that area, a little bit of a stall in the ENSO region. Indian Ocean has cooled down a little bit over here and warmed up a little bit over there, but I think we're still saying that we are at a neutral to weekly negative IOD. But the real change, very little change in the North Atlantic, by the way. Most areas not changing all that much. But the real change over the past 7 days has been up here. Look at that. Look how things have cooled down in that northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean in the past in the past week. So the change actually with these purple colours appearing just here is like we've lost around 3 degrees of the temperature anomaly from parts of the northeastern Pacific Ocean in the past week. That is a very, very dramatic drop in temperature that has occurred there over the past week. So could the northeastern Pacific finally be starting to trend colder? If you want a colder winter, you will be hoping, I think, that this is the start of a trend, and we see this maintain over the next several weeks, and things really start to cool down up there in the northeastern Pacific Ocean. Otherwise, you know, quite stable really with the sea surface temperature lines. This is from tropicaltidbits.com. This is showing day-by-day temperature anomalies in the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean region 3.4. So you can see that the lowest sort of temperature anomaly just here was around the 20th of September. Since then, though, the temperature anomalies have stopped dropping and have actually come back up a little bit. So this definitely tells us that over the past few days we've seen a pause in the development of this La Nina through the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't see a resumption of the La Nina getting stronger over the coming weeks, but certainly over the past week, we have seen a pause and a levelling off, I think, of the development of this La Nina. Subsurface temperature anomalies. So this is at depth in the Pacific Ocean. So this is like the surface of the Pacific just here. These are the depths of the ocean going all the way down to 300 meters. Peru is just there. Indonesia is just there. So at depth we see colder than average subsurface temperature anomalies through the central and eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, very much supporting the idea of a La Nina. Over here in the western equatorial Pacific Ocean we have got some warmer subsurface temperature anomalies at depth between around 50 and 250 meters. But at the moment, it's definitely this La Nina that's holding sway, I think. So at the moment, we definitely have a signal for La Nina, both in terms of the subsurface and also the sea surface temperature anomalies. CFSV2 is forecasting a strong La Nina now, so it's taking us down to around 2 degrees below average, sort of at the end of the year. It's kind of like this black dashed line going down to 2 degrees below average. That's around December, that sort of time. So that tells us that CFSV2 is forecasting a strong La Nina. So I mean, if that's going to come off, then we are going to have to see the sea surface temperature anomalies dropping quite dramatically from next week onwards. Really, I would suggest if that forecast of going 2 degrees below average is going to come up by like the end of November. I think it's overdoing it. I think it's overplaying it, and I think in the end we're probably going to see this La Nina coming out somewhere around here, which is around sort of borderline weak to moderate levels. I struggle to see us going into a strong La Nina, but I could be wrong about that. Southern Oscillation Index is looking like this. It's just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state. So when the SOI is in its positive phase, the atmospheric state of the Southern Ocean will be reflective of La Nina. When the SOI is in its negative phase, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of LDO. You can see we are consistently having, so it's measuring air pressure between Tahiti and Darwin. You can see that we are consistently having positive SOI numbers, plus 14, plus 16, plus 16, plus 11, plus 8, plus 7, plus 16, plus 20, plus 18, plus 10. All of those numbers are reflective of La Nina in terms of the atmospheric state. The 30-day SOI average, this is from Queensland Government, by the way. 30-day SOI average is solidly in positive phase just here, somewhere between around plus 11 and plus 10. The 90-day average, this yellow dash line, is lifting up. Everything tells us that La Nina is here and is going to stay with us through to the winter of 2020-21. The only question now is how strong is this La Nina going to get. IOD forecasts are in and updated from 29th of September on a month-by-month basis. So currently, this is how October is being forecast. We've got our long-range monitors here: Bureau of Meteorology, CANSIPS, ECMWF, Meteo France, NASA, UK Met Office, and Ensemble Mean down here. So you see for October, most of these bars are forecasting the IOD, Indian Ocean Dipole, to be either neutral to weakly negative. Meteo France is going most negative of all with the IOD in October. But most of these models are sort of in the same ballpark, which is neutral to weakly negative. In November, again, that continues neutral to weakly negative. IOD continues into November. Into December, we again still see most of these models neutral to weakly negative. Have CANSIPS going neutral to weakly positive just there, but basically even in December they are more or less neutral to weakly negative. January and February starts to show a shift more towards neutral to positive, or neutral to weakly positive with the Indian Ocean dipole. But up to December, the IOD looks like it's going to be in a neutral to negative phase. If you want to know what that means and the implications of that means, please check out the first winter 2020-21 update. But if you want a colder winter, you don't want like the sort of winter we had last year, then the IOD being neutral to weak negative into the start of winter anyway is probably good news. And even though it's shifting later in the winter, of course, that will have a time lag before it feeds back into the atmosphere. So by February, if we are neutral to weakly positive with the IOD, it shouldn't have any impacts like on winter. It shouldn't start impacting the atmosphere until on into the spring. Atlantic hurricane season looking like this. This is the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season page at Wikipedia. So these are the scores on the doors for this hurricane season so far. Been a very, very strange season. Massive season for tropical depressions at 25, with a total of 24 tropical storms, 8 hurricanes, and 2 major category 3 or above hurricanes. For depressions and storms, it's been a very, very active season, incredibly active, second most active season on record. For hurricanes, it's been quite active as well, but a lot of them have been relatively weak. For major hurricanes, only 2 not overly active. 2 major hurricanes with 25 or 24 tropical storms is quite bizarre, quite unusual what's happened there. So the numbers are looking rather strange. This has been updated by Schrey and Brim. This is showing ACE, accumulated cyclone energy, shows all ACE numbers back to 1851. So the categories are below normal, near normal, above average, or hyperactive. You will think that this season, with so many tropical storms, would be, and this is kind of like telling us how much energy, how much energy these storms and hurricanes are emitting. So you will think that with so many tropical storms, we would have a hyperactive season for accumulated cyclone energy, but we don't see that. Actually, for ACE, we see a number of 101.36. That's barely changed from last week, actually. And that's with 24 tropical storms, 8 hurricanes, and 2 major hurricanes. And that ACE number actually brings us out near normal for accumulated cyclone energy. So despite all of these tropical storms that we've been getting, they haven't been emitting all that much energy, actually. However, we've still got October to go, and I think that at the very least, by the end of October, we will see this season going above normal for ACE. I'm sure we will have at least a couple more big hurricanes to come during October. So I don't think this hurricane season is over and done with by a long stretch, and I think we'll at the very least be above normal. There's an outside chance we could even go hyperactive, but certainly I think an above normal ACE is likely by the time we get to the end of October, and we shall see about that. Thank you so much to Schrey for keeping that updated. Right, last thing I'm going to show you for this 5th Winter 2020 update part 1 is what's going on with Eurasian snow cover. So this is latest. You remember last week we established that snow cover across Eurasia was pretty much at its lowest that we've seen for that time of year back to 1998. Well, this is the very latest. So this is from the 2nd of October from a national from NIC, National Snow and Ice Data Center. You can see that we have got a nice large white patch now. That's about as big as France. chance in terms of snow cover across eastern parts of Siberia. How does that compare, though, with all the past years? Well, this is 2019. So for this year, we are below 2019 at the same time. So we are below 2019. That's 2018. So what do you think about that? I think we're above 2018 now for this time of year, 2nd of October. That's 2017. We're behind 2017 for snow cover. That's 2016. We're behind 2016 as well. For snow cover. That's 2015. Areas are a little bit different. If you were to measure it all out, we are possibly, I think, a little bit behind 2015 overall. But areas that are covered are significantly different. But I think we would be behind 2015. That's 2014. What do you think about that one? Yes, I think we can safely say we're behind 2014. This time of year, we're well behind 2013. Look at that. Look at the difference between this year and 2013. So at the moment, the only year we're doing better than the snow cover is 2018. That's 2012. What do you think about 2012? Again, areas that are covered are slightly different. I think overall we're probably quite close to 2012, actually. But again, the areas that are covered are rather different, but possibly slightly ahead or very close to 2012. That's 2011. Again, areas that are covered are very different. We're possibly a little bit ahead of 2011. That's 2010. So I think we're behind 2010 for this point of the year. That's 2009. We are well ahead of 2009. Look how much further ahead we are of 2009 compared to this point in 2009. That's 2008, which we are ahead of as well in terms of snow cover. That's 2007. So probably quite close to match 2007, maybe a little bit behind it. That's 2006. What do you think about that one? Again, probably quite close to 2006 or a little bit ahead of it. That's 2005. So, whoops, that's 2005, just there. So, yeah, I think we're a little bit ahead of 2005. We're doing better this week. Clearly, we are doing better this week than we was last week. That's 2004. We're probably a little bit behind 2004. That's 2003. So probably a little bit ahead or quite close to 2003. Let me know in the comments which years you think we're closest to. That's 2002. We're well behind 2002. That's 2001. Ignore that. That's off the rails. So I don't know what happens there in 2001. But we haven't pushed all that snow into Italy and Greece on the 2nd of October 2001. So ignore that. That is 2000. So for the year 2000, I think we're probably a little bit behind. 2000, that is 1999. Again, we are probably a little bit behind 1999. And this one is 1998, as far back as we can go with these charts. And again, we are behind 1998. So there are several years that we are doing worse than for snow cover across Siberia and Eurasia as of the 2nd of October 1998. But unlike last week, there are several years that we are doing better than. So there are several years we're better for snow cover for this point in October. There are several years that we are lagging behind still. But we're off and running anyway with this year's Eurasian snow cover season. Last, I'll just tell you what's coming up in the 5th Winter 2021 update part 2. So we're going to look at the Central temperature. September CT came out at 13.9, an anomaly of 0.3 degrees above average. So tomorrow, in part 2 of this winter update, we will be looking at winters following September's with a CT range of 13.8 to 14.0, and that will be coming up tomorrow in part 2 of the 5th Winter 2020-21 update. If you have enjoyed this video, then please can you click like on the video. Make sure you subscribe to the GavsWeatherVids YouTube channel. Let us know in the comments what you think, and don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. We're on the grind to 8k subs, and we're going to get to it by the end of the year, hopefully. Okay, so run on just over 40 minutes. I hope you've enjoyed this video. This 5th Winter 2020-21 update, part 1, will be placed on Winter Updates page either later tonight or tomorrow morning. There'll be a written summary that goes with it as well, and that's going to be absolutely fantastic. Watch the video on demand, have a read of that written summary where you would like to do that. We've got the first written update for Christmas coming up at GavsWeatherVids.com around 2ish this afternoon. That's going to be a bit of fun. And then we're live streaming from 6 o'clock. Look at CAN 6 and CFS V2 data for winter 2021. And no doubt we'll discuss this winter update part 1 as well. But for the 5th winter 2021 update, thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.